What does it take to create a vibrant, thriving life? First, the sad news is that Thoreau was right. Most people are leading quiet lives of desperation, lacking in meaning, fulfillment, and vitality. But we choose more. We choose to create extraordinary lives. And the Art of Vibrant Living show entertains you with inspiration, empowerment, and education to create your life into a masterpiece. It's time. Let's vibe up. Aloha, y'all. Daniel Aaron. I am your host, and this is the Art of Vibrant Living show. I'm so excited for this show. I've been looking forward to speaking with Danny Miranda in this context for it feels like years. Because the thing is, I've only known him for like a few weeks. It's weird, except he's definitely a brother from another mother, not just because of the name, though we will get to that. This dude, let me tell you, literally met him 2 weeks ago. We were in a retreat together with one of my coaches, John Patrick Morgan. And from the moment I met this guy, first I just looked at him. I was like, looks like an ordinary guy, looks cool. But then I heard him speak. And there was like a depth of consciousness, a sincerity. And then I heard some of what he said. I was like, holy moly, this guy, I think he's like a couple years younger than me. Try maybe like half my age or something. Although I'm not doing any kind of ageism on him. He's just a wise dude. It doesn't matter what age he is, and what he has accomplished and who he is in the world is somebody that I really look up to. He's super accomplished too. This guy's in the top 1% of podcasts that he's done, interviewed some of the luminaries of our time, started blog posting when he was 13, I think it was. He's had Robert Greene, another of my heroes, Seth Godin, Gary Vaynerchuk, Alex Hormoza. I mean, he's done some amazing things, and he's just getting started. Holy moly. Danny, thank you so much for being with us. I'm excited to learn from you and just have this time together.
Thank you, good sir. I'm really honored by your introduction, and I just feel so lucky that I get the opportunity to talk to you and connect with you. And I feel that there's some level of appreciation and recognition from you in that introduction, and it is so mutual from me to you. I have such admiration for who you are and how you've showed up in the world, and I'm really grateful that I get to learn from you. So it's an honor.
Very kind. I appreciate that. Well, last I know, 474 published podcasts, top 1% podcasts. There's pretty much nobody in the world who wouldn't raise their hand and say, I want to be on Danny Miranda's show. What is something that you no doubt you've been on hundreds of podcasts as a guest. What's something that you've never shared on a podcast that you are called to bring forward today?
I love the New York Mets. That's honestly something I don't think I've ever spoken about. It's not something that people typically ask about or I bring forth. And I found it, I grew up really interested in sports. And when I was, in the last 5 years, I've kind of pushed it not down, but aside. And then in the final last year, I was going through a breakup that was really, really hurt my soul. And it was difficult for me to sit with myself. And what did I do when I wanted to ignore my emotions? I watched the New York Mets, and I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful for the 3 hours a day that I got to just be in someone else's world. I totally became I just felt so appreciative for those moments. And I persist in watching the Mets, and I love the Mets. So that's something that most people don't know about me.
Okay, cool. Thank you. Well, so then Would that apply to any other sports team and any other sport as well?
The New York Knicks are the other one that I watch and watch during their playoff run, but those are the two really that have my attention and
Okay,
awareness.
got it.
Yeah.
Well, when my name was Danny back
Yeah.
in when I was like 13 or something like that, I was really into sports, and I was from New England. So back in those days, I would be ready to have some rivalry with you. Um, but I want to check in with you because I heard you say something like when you wanted to ignore your emotions.
Yeah.
Um, you don't strike me as a guy who's looking to go unconscious, though. Would it be accurate or fair to say that you were changing your focus or taking a break from some of the challenge to get a different perspective?
Yeah, I appreciate that reframe, um, and that I think that's accurate. It can be. I really got accustomed to how the stories that the mind can create and how deep it can go and how overwhelming it can seem when I went through this breakup, and so I kind of just felt, oh, okay, this is nice to have this moment in time to not think about this. Um, I I was really trying to go into it for the other 95% of the day,
Hmm.
but yeah, this was a wonderful time to just let go.
Okay, cool. Cool as in cool. Thank you for sharing more depth of the
Yeah.
experience. Not cool for the challenge that you were in at the time. I'm sure that didn't
Grateful
feel.
for it now.
Okay, so that was you. You must be psycho. I mean, psychic. That's my the question that was coming to me there is
Yeah.
what was the worst of it, and what are the greatest pieces of gold that you got from it?
Yeah, I think the worst of it was this idea of like I found somebody or I connected, got the opportunity to connect with someone I really loved and loved fully. And I could feel that they loved themselves fully as well. And would I ever be able to experience that level of love from another person again in my life? Um, and so that idea kind of just it really it it scared me for the fact that I potentially could not. Um, and I think the reason why I'm grateful for it now is because um, on June 4th of 2024, I was writing about this yesterday, June 4th, 2025, and I was like, I was writing about the situation, going back into my notes file of like, when did I create this? And it was exactly 1 year later. and and so on June 4th, 2024, I wrote a note in my phone that said lessons learned from the breakup.
Hmm.
And it was from creating this note over the next 3 months that I actually began to transform. And it brought me into this idea that, uh, people say all the time that healing happens with time.
Hmm.
And I think there's some truth to that. But really, what I found is that new perspectives are really what heal,
Hmm.
or at least what heal me. And new perspectives can happen in a day, new perspective can happen in a second, new perspective could happen over a course of years. And sometimes, often, time gives the ability for new perspectives to come about. But if you create new perspectives that actually change or allow you to hold some paradoxes, as I read in your book, wonderful book here, highly recommend The Art of Spiritual Leadership by Daniel Aaron. Um, if you are able to hold some of these paradoxes of life and of loss and of love, and you can grow and you can heal from it. So that was my experience, at least.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Okay, so then what that sparked for me is there's a saying, right? Change is inevitable, progress is not, right? So change is going to happen. And what I heard you saying, like when you put that note in 366 days ago that said lessons learned from the breakup, part of what you're doing was prompting yourself, higher consciousness, your brain to say, you know what, here's this event and certainly change is going to happen. Let's bring some lessons from it. Let's extract gold from it. Does that resonate?
That's absolutely right. And it took months of me updating this note
Mm.
over and over and over again. And it was really extraordinary because I didn't know this at the time. I only knew this from backtracking it, but on August 26th of last year is the last time I updated the note. And on August 26th, when the last time that I updated it, I there was a woman that I met who had a husband, and I was like, that's the energetic representation of the woman that I'd like to marry. And I just thought that was so fascinating that the last day that I updated the note is the day that I meet somebody
Mm.
who embodies the energy that I would like to bring into my life. So I think all of this stuff, there's no coincidence in it. And it's a beautiful thing to witness when you have the pieces and you put them all together.
Hmm. Absolutely. Well, so, and then let's check on this because you said something that's so, I experience it as tender and real and ludicrous, um, which is you had the thought, maybe I will never have love like this again.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe this is the last great love. Maybe there's nobody else. Maybe it's all over. And and you were not, shall we say, an old man at that point in your life,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um, so, what perspective do you have on that thought form now?
Um, the perspective I have on that thought form now is I have so much compassion for the person who thought it, uh, which is a different human being. Um, and and I could understand why I thought that. I mean, it was the the circumstance and the way it all came together was miraculous,
Hmm.
and the love was miraculous as
Hmm.
well. And so I could totally get it, but it's not true with a capital T. It was true from the perspective of one human being at one point in time.
Yeah, well, cool. And I'm with you. And when I said tender and real or whatever I said, I mean that on the perspective that, like, I can say, well, that's ludicrous, man. And I could say that, okay, well, if when I experience that again, that would be a ludicrous thought for me to have. And I can also well imagine that I would have it, right? Because
Yeah.
it's such a human thing. There was this little known writer from a long time ago. What's his name? Shakespeare said something like, breaking up is hard to do, right? And part of why he
End quote.
was, say again,
Breaking up is hard to do. That's it.
boom, yeah. Part of why he had so many zingers, right? And we could talk about was he a real dude and all that stuff, but we'll leave that aside. But part of why he has so many because truth and real, and we can resonate. It's hard to do. Um,
Yeah.
so you and I may have that experience again, and it's real. Anyway, do you have another thought on that you want to share?
No.
Okay, so you mentioned your compassion for that version of Danny a little over a year ago that had that thought, which is beautiful. And who Danny is today is a different guy. How'd you do that? Because change is inevitable, progress is optional, and not only is he a different dude, there's been progress. Is it true?
It is true. And it's interesting. The first thing that came to my head when you said that, how'd I do it, was God. I didn't feel like
Mm.
I did any of it. I feel like it was done to me, done through me. And I know that also a previous version of myself would say, what are you talking about? What do you mean God did this to you? That doesn't make any sense. Where is the God? I don't see him. You're out of your mind. But I know how true that genuinely feels in my present day experience. So I can hold
Mm.
both of those. Um, how did I do it? I mean, I think it actually started like from a practical, if you want to talk about practical, because I can talk practical with the best of them. Raised in New York, love it. Um, I did. My friend Talia, who is an angel of a woman, a sister to me, and I noticed it from the moment that I saw her. and met her, was like, this woman is like my mother. Like, this is
Mm.
incredible. She
Mm.
turns out that her husband's name is Max. Max is my brother's name. Her birthday is one day after my mother. And so you have a situation where it's like, okay, this is amazing. So I met her a year and a half ago. We quickly became best friends and connected. And um, she saw that I was going through a really tough time. After about 6 weeks, she's like, you're still going through it 6 weeks later,
Mm.
after this breakup. Like, something, this is deep. Um, and she had known what had gotten me out of that breakup, that of difficult situations in the past.
Mm.
And what had gotten me out of difficult situations in the past was doing this program called 75 Hard.
Mm.
And 75 Hard is a 75-day program where for 75 days straight, you do 2 workouts a day, you read 10 pages of a nonfiction book, you drink a gallon of water, you take a progress picture, and you follow a diet with no alcohol or cheat meals. It's pretty intense, but I've found it to be very effective. What was fascinating, this is probably the fourth time that I've done it. And in 2023, I got the opportunity to interview the founder. Now, this is in 2024. She recommends that I do this program as a way to help me grow. And she's not only recommending it, she's saying, I'm going to do it with you. So
Mm.
she did it with me, and like an incredible friend that she is. And what was so fascinating is that I really did begin to heal and grow and change by virtue of doing this program.
Mm.
So much so that by the end of the program, on August 8th, 2024, I recorded a podcast episode as a guest on the podcast of the creator of the program. And it was this moment of, wow, I really have grown. I really have changed. I really have become a new version of myself. And that was only 2 or 3 months later. And it just tapped me back into this idea that I have to relearn over and over and over again, is that really all of us, no matter how big your problems are, you're just 1 month away from the person that you want to be. I genuinely, really believe that in my heart of hearts. 1 month away. If you take consistent action on being the person that you want to be for 1 month, if you're depressed, if you're down, if you're angry at life, if situations seem unfavorable, I genuinely believe in my heart of hearts that you are 1 month away from becoming who you love, who you want to be, who's a person who's in alignment. Maybe not someone who has it all figured out, but someone who is so much further than the version of you a month ago, that you are so grateful for that you are on this path of healing and growth and prosperity and connection to yourself. So that's been my experience, at least. And it's one of my favorite topics to talk about because I've experienced it so many times through the grace of God.
Okay, I'm taking a breath because you said so many amazing things that it brought up 47 questions for me. And grace of God, we're going to come back to that because that's juicy. First, though, I totally know what you mean about taking on a challenge like 75 hard, right? And I've at times in my life done as many as 5 different challenges. I'm doing the 100 push-ups a day and the complaint-free challenge and the, who knows. Like, I love those kind of things just to like give me a little bit of commitment that moves me in the positive direction. And I'm 100% with you that yeah, we're not far away. And theoretically, 1 month, yes. Theoretically, one breath,
Yeah.
right? Literally
Yeah.
one breath.
Yeah.
Because how fast can we change our consciousness, right? Like, and I don't know if you've ever had this experience. I had it many times being with enlightened masters, and and I walk in, or I'm in the satsang, and I'm in their presence, and so we ask a question, and I go to ask the question about my problem, and I'm like, it's gone. Like my problem, just being in their frequency, my problem is gone. Right.
Yeah.
So, but here's the question. Obviously, Talia is a good friend, and
Yes.
she helped you. She had the solidarity to jump in with you. She knew who you were. She gave you the encouragement. You trusted her. You felt her love, and so you said, "All right, I'm in. Let's go. 75 hard. Let's do it again." And you started into the program. What was the moment though? Like, because here's the thing. I believe that, like, yeah, as soon as we make the decision to start going up, in some way we're already there, right, from the decision. But yeah, it may take some time, and learn to do some push-ups, whatever. But what was the moment for you that said, okay, I'm rebounding here?
Okay, so there's two actually. I'm happy you brought it back to this.
Hmm.
The first was as soon as uh, as soon as this breakup happened, I immediately said, okay, I have to meditate every day.
Hmm.
Like it's non-negotiable. This is already something that is entrenched into me, but I'm going to use Insight Timer, the app, and I'm going to meditate every day. This is a non-negotiable. Like it's just going to happen. And who knows where I'd be if I didn't do this. That was the first thing. The second thing was that my mom texted me one day and she said, I view you as an artist and you're not creating anything. So, what are you creating today? And I say, oh my God, my mom saw this version of me that was incredible. And my mom saw me as an artist. Like I didn't even see myself as an artist. And now I'm embodying that energy by writing 12 books in 12 months. And I'm like, oh my God, I am an artist. I really am. Oh my God. Okay. So that was a new identity that my mom gave me that I knew to be true deep within me. And so what I did was I said, okay, I'm going to record one video every day for the next 100 days. And I was in the pits of feeling grief, despair, hopelessness for myself. And these videos are still available today. But after 10 days of just feeling like absolute manure on camera, and on the 10th day of not be of looking at myself and being like, I'm going to do this for the next 90 days. I'm going to show up in the same energy. No way. That's not who I am. That's not what I'm going to do. Uh, I realized that 75 Hard was my ticket to a life that was more aligned with what I actually desired.
Hmm.
So uh, it was from seeing the reflection
Hmm.
of how I was showing up that made me really
Hmm.
see that I was going to commit to this. And that started from my mom, and that started from myself, from my commitment to meditate. So that's the longer story that I forget sometimes and that I'm happy you prompted.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And there's so many lessons in that, and such a intricate web of positive intersections there, right? Your mom creating you, reminding you of who you are in her eyes, right? Then you saying, you know what, I'm going to create, I'm going to give out to the world, I'm going to express. Expression is healing in and of itself. I'm going to express out, I'm going to give something of this, even though I feel like manure. And then seeing your reflection, which to me is like, I used to when I used to train yoga teachers, one of the things we would do, and this was like 20 years ago, is I would film them. It wasn't even on a phone at that point. It was using a camera. We would film them, and they hated it. Right? We'd film them and have them watch back. But somehow I knew just seeing ourselves is corrective, like, because we are automatically corrective creatures, right? If we see what's going on, it's like homeopathy. If we just get the information, we're going to start self-correcting, because that's life force wants to do that, right? So you had the courage to put yourself forward, right? And even the courage, no doubt, to look at the reflections and see how it came back, and that prompted you to say, no, this is not who I want to be, right? This is not who I am.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
that's
exactly right. And I noticed even the idea of in your book, there you talk about this exercise that you do where at a retreat, you're hosting the retreat and you have people, the first exercise being, we're going to record you. And people are all of a sudden, they're freaked out and they're nervous and they're feeling, okay, I have to talk about myself and and I understand that feeling. I didn't want to put myself on camera for the first 38 podcasts of my own show. I wanted to be audio only. So I understand that feeling of not wanting to be seen. Um, but yeah, it's a beautiful thing when you start to own who you are and you get comfortable being seen for who you are. And that's a journey that I think we're all unfolding deeper and deeper into. And that when you do, it just creates more freedom. So.
beautiful. Beautiful. So you've spoken quite a bit, at least recently, about meditation being just a huge key for you,
Yeah.
right? And in fact, let's bring two streams together here, confluence, because you spoke about God a little while ago, and when we met in person, something you shared with me that stuck with me is that I don't remember the timeline, 6 months ago, a year ago, you couldn't have said, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but you wouldn't have said that God is real or that God is something that you can believe in. And we can get to what does God mean, right? We can get to that in a second. But and when I asked you, like, well, how did that happen, right? And meditation was what you said. So what is meditation to you, and how has it changed you?
Absolutely. Happy to answer that. I want to just go back to clarify the record of this because I actually think
Mm-hmm.
that it's helpful. Um, so I started meditating 6 years ago, around 6 years ago, in September of 2019, whenever that is, maybe 5.5 years ago. And from September 2019 to um, December 2023 is was this time when I was meditating. My life was improving and my life was growing in a way that I couldn't quite explain why. I was following what felt true to me, felt right to me, on and off. But it really wasn't until December 2023 that I could stop and say, God is real, God is true, God is
Mm-hmm.
everything. And to
Mm-hmm.
quote Byron Katie.
Yeah, yeah.
And that what you said at the retreat really stuck with me. God is good, God is everything from Byron Katie. I mean, I can't unsee that, and it's such a beautiful thing to keep in your mind. So thank you for passing that along.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but December 2023 was this moment of, okay, this thing that I've been flirting with, I've experienced so many synchronicities to this point where me believing that this is anything other than perfect design from a creator is something that I cannot accept as true. And so therefore I have to accept the idea that a perfect creator is creating, has created all of this perfectly. And that was just a beautiful moment of just peace and awareness and connection. And that was December 2023. What?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, well, yeah. I mean, I love, by the way, your awareness of dates and the way you can, track the chronology of your evolution and the big changes. And now that you're speaking about December 2023, that's obviously a pivotal time. Will you hone in what was the moment when you said, when you didn't have those words then, but when you realized, hey, there's a divine intelligence, there's God is good, God is everything. How did that happen?
Um, I'll tell you, Daniel. I'm happy to tell you. so, so I was running my first marathon. I decided to run a marathon in May of 2023, and my buddy calls me on the phone and he says, "Hey, would you like to run this marathon in December?" I said, "Sure." What marathon? I never run a marathon before, but it seemed interesting. He said, "It's the St. Jude's Marathon in Memphis." Now, I've never been to Memphis. I live in Austin. My friend is not from Memphis. He never had been to Memphis, to my knowledge. And I said, that is really interesting because my dad ran the St. Jude's Marathon in 2013, exactly 10 years ago.
Whoa.
So I said, okay, that's interesting. That's a sign for me to do and run this marathon. I'd never run a marathon before. And so I started training.
Hmm.
I started training for this marathon. And my grandpa ran after 40. I think he ran something like 20 marathons in his life. He loved it. It was part of his identity and part of his calling. And so I was training for it and talking to my grandpa about it. And my grandpa, Richard, is one of my favorite people in this world. And he's just a huge inspiration, a huge role model, like my dad is. And um, I was talking to my grandpa Richard. I was talking to him right before the marathon, running my first one, and I asked him, "Hey, what should I know for this marathon? This is my first one. This is the training that I've done. This is," and he says to me, "Mile 21 to 23 is going to be the most difficult for you." I say, "Okay, that's great. I appreciate it." And he gave me other advice as well, but that was really what stuck and really what I had in my head. Mile 21 to 23 is going to be the most difficult. Um, I get to mile 20, feeling good, and mile 21, I start feeling it. Like how does he know? How does he know that mile 21 is going to be difficult? I mean, it's a different world, it's different, but mile 21, I actually really start feeling it. And at this moment in the marathon, a guy who is running in the race starts to run with me, and I say, okay, this is funny. Like this guy is he's offering me water, he's offering me food. He's We just start talking. It turns out he's really into podcasts. He listens to podcasts. He hadn't heard of my podcast, but he'd heard of a bunch of similar ones. So we're talking and talking and talking, and he tells me his name. His name was Richard, and and I thought, okay, Richard comes and joins me at mile 21. We're going to be running the rest of the race together. This is super fun. At mile 23, Richard leaves me. I say, I finished the race, and Richard runs faster than me, and he finishes ahead of me by like 2 minutes or something. I say to myself, "This is too much. This is." I call my grandpa right after. "Pops, you'll never believe this," uh, and he was just in shock. And I said, "This is God. I know I wasn't raised believing God was real, but this is too wild for me to say that you're going to tell me mile 21 to 23, there's going to be a guy who joins me for 21 to 23, and that's going to be, he's going to run off. How else is that possible?" And there's the perfection to that moment that was profound. And so, yeah, that.
I love it. Thank you. That's beautiful. And so, what comes to me from that, similarly, I've had so many moments where, like, can't make this up. It's just like so clear that God, Allah, Buddha, the universe, nature is like pulling apart the fabric and saying, "Look, beyond the material world, this is all that's really going on." Like, I've had so many of those experiences. There's no way I could deny that everything is happening perfectly. Except sometimes things don't go the way I want, and then I do. How does that happen? How what like you can't unforget that moment, no doubt. But I'm just going to go out way out on a limb and guess that since that moment, you've had a couple maybe two, three moments where you got grumpy or thought that things should be different. Is it true?
Oh, it's certainly true. And it's a marker, right? It's a marker that is a great story and actually was true in the sense of this is when I really said God is real, God is true. But it wasn't it I had flirted with the idea before, and I flirted with the idea after. Right? That's the full truth. Is like, yeah, when I'm going through that breakup and my lease ends the same day that or same week that I go through this breakup, I say, which is a synchronicity in and of itself. But it's like, God, why are you doing this to me? And you're not, if you're real out there, God, you wouldn't do this to a human being. Like, get out of here. This isn't, if you're out there, God, you're clearly not out there for me in this moment. So absolutely, there's definitely moments of doubt and moments of disbelief and moments of grumpiness and moments of, oh, I'm a victim here. This shouldn't be happening to me. And I think, that coming back to, it's really like the stage that I'm at right now is just this coming back to, and just knowing that I have power in every moment to choose my next thought if I'm conscious of it. If I'm unconscious, any thought could come in. But if I know that my mantra is I am love, I am love, I am love, I can choose I am love as my next thought. And so if I can make that just in my being, then I'm closer to God. So that's my work, and yeah, it's a never ending process for me.
Delicious. Okay. I'm going to flag speaking about self-love, right? Because that's such
Okay.
an important one, and you taught me something so beautiful about that. I want to come back to that because it's really useful for all of us. And prior to that, because you spoke about just now, like where you're going, and you dropped a little kernel earlier about 12 books in 12 months. Before we touch on that, let's rewind to Danny Miranda, and forgive me if I get the chronology a little bit wrong here, the events, but age 13, right? Right, reaches out to Gary Vaynerchuk, right? Reaches out. I keep putting a D in his name. There's no D there. Reaches out to Gary V, and creates a relationship, right?
Yeah.
13-year-old kid from Long Island reaches out and creates a relationship with this world famous dude. What gave you the cojones to do that?
One, just I've always been it's how it's always been is the first answer. The of I can do that. If I see someone else do that, no matter their age, I could do that too.
Yeah.
I have had this confidence that has always been there. My parents are both confident people, and they instilled that confidence in me. So that's one. But also, it wavers. So there's that piece that I do have a lot of confidence, and I do have a wavering of that confidence that comes
Sure,
about.
sure. Being part human and all.
Yes. um, but the thing is, to correct the record, in 2009, Gary Vaynerchuk was not world famous.
Okay,
And
okay.
he was not unknown by any stretch of the imagination. He had hundreds of thousands of followers online, but he wasn't known to my mom. He wasn't known to most people. And so I was watching this wine show, and what I really was feeling was this guy, one, loves himself, and two, this guy cares about the world around him. And that's what I was recognizing. I was watching his wine show, but I was recognizing something far deeper and far truer. And I've always been attracted to that. I feel people online and in person, and I say, how much love is this person living with? When I read Steve Hardison, someone who mutually inspires us, what I felt was this person is living in a deeper level of love than I currently am, and I am inspired by that. So that's what I always look for in people is like, what's their level of self-love and how much are they living in that? And I wasn't aware that I was doing that at 13, but that's what I was doing with Gary Vee. And so I wrote a genuine piece of appreciation of how I saw him at 13. He commented on it. He saw my name. At 15, I was following his career, and his second book came out, The Thank You Economy. I wanted to go to his book signing, and I couldn't because it was a school night. And so I told him, hey, Gary, this is on Twitter at the time, 2011, or 2011, March 2011. I tweeted at him, hey, Gary, I'd love to come to this book signing, but I can't. It's a school night. He responds, what's your mom's number? Calls her on the spot. And he says, hey, Mrs. Miranda, your son is going to get more value out of this book signing than he will from doing his homework. And he was right. And so I went to the book signing. That's age 15. Age 25, I put out on Twitter who wants to come on my dream list of podcast guests. Gary Vaynerchuk, Jocko Willink, Mike Posner, Andy Frisella, and one other person that I can't recall in this moment. And people start commenting. Hey, Gary, you got to go on this guy's podcast. You got to go. After 50 comments, he says, fine, I'll do it. And then I tell him the story. And it was 10 years later that I told him the story.
He wasn't remembering it in that moment.
And he remembered after I told him the story. It's like, oh, wow, you're that guy. So.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so the question I'm not going to ask you then is not now. We'll do that at another time. But the question I want to ask you is how your parents created that level of confidence in you. Like, I'm a parent, so one of my favorite things to do is interview parents. Like, how do you do that, right? How did you do that? And of course they I always say, well, they don't always, but then, well, just just happened. I don't know. Well, if you did know, so we go deeper, but let's go deeper into, because you touched on self love, right? And that's what you recognized in Gary. That's what you recognized in our mutual mentor, Steve Hardison. And here's the cool trick you taught me. Is it okay if I reveal to the world now that I put you on the spot? Right.
Absolutely.
We're
Reveal.
chatting. We're chatting about the wonderful world of positive uses of AI, and you said you upload your journal entries and get a self-love rating from your AI bot or something like that. I was like, whoa, that's so cool, right? And you've been doing that for 6 months, I think, right? So, and you mentioned earlier about a little over a year after that breakup and how much more self-love you've created in that time, and your first reaction in looking back at that dude a year ago was like, oh, I love him, right? That's a self-love response. So the questions are, why are you into it? How are you cultivating it? And what has it changed?
Big questions. Love it. I love it. um, why am I into it? I'm into it because there's a great Ram Dass quote of, I think it's, you would know it better than me, but it's the name of his one of his books, which is "The Only Game There Is" or "The Only Dance There Is." Is
I don't know.
that,
I don't know.
you
I
don't
don't
know?
know that many of his book titles, but I'm with you.
Okay.
It's the game. Yeah.
So that why I'm into it is really
Hmm.
at the heart of it, love, God. What's the difference? Truly, I
Hmm.
mean,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
could argue there is from Eckhart Tolle. He's mentioned a little bit about that, about the difference in some slight way, but it's so slight that I in my current vantage point cannot see it. It's really the only game there is.
Hmm.
From my vantage point as I'm currently looking at myself or the world, love is the only game there is. If I really sit into that, if I really know that to be true, it changes everything. It changes everything because for me I can stop looking at, okay, when I get this amount of money, okay, when I get this amount of followers, okay, when I get this person, when I become this in this way, when I write 12 books in 12 months, then I'll be able to. But what if it's right now?
Hmm.
And for me, love gives me the ability to do that. Love for myself. For me, it starts with love for myself. The reason why my parents were able to instill that level of confidence in me is because they had love for themselves. They had love for their relationship. They showed respect to themselves over and over and over again. My parents, June 5th, 1994, is when they were married, 31 years to the day. And I am a byproduct of their love for themselves and then for each other. And then they create a human being who attempts to love himself because they show over and over and over again, this is how I love myself. And so that's why I'm into it. That's why, that's what I, that, that's a little bit about self love. What am I doing to cultivate it? Is that
Hmm.
another question?
That is another question.
What I'm doing to cultivate it is, you mentioned the practice of, I put a journal entry into Chat GPT and write, what is the self love of this journal entry on a scale of 0 to 100 to quantify the unseen world. The reason why people often, myself included in the past, did not care about love is, I can't measure it. What are you
Hmm.
talking about?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's not practical. It's not real. It doesn't make
Hmm.
sense. Love, like, I know it's important. I know it's valuable, and I can't measure it. So therefore, it's not real. Well, to me, ChatGPT creates a great way to make it a little more tangible.
Hmm.
So that's one piece. That's what I'm doing to cultivate it. Another is, I'm reading great books like The Art of Spiritual Leadership by Daniel Aaron, and Wishes Fulfilled by Wayne Dyer, and Excuses Be Gone by Wayne Dyer, and Many Lives, Many Masters by Brian Weiss. And it's like, if I can just, in another way I'm doing it is by creating a mantra and creating a dominant thought. I am love. I am love. I am love. You know what I say in the shower? I am love. I am love. I am love. I over and over again. It matters. What you say to yourself matters. What you say out loud matters. And if I say that, and then every time I'm saying that, I'm bringing evidence to mind of how that's true, and remembering, oh yeah, I did do this kind thing this one time. Oh yeah, yesterday I did open the door for this. Oh yeah, yeah. Then I'm creating more love for myself. So when I do that, when I say I am love, when I say I am love, and I got this practice from Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It
Hmm.
by Kamal Ravikant, and it's an incredible book. And he would say, I love myself, I love myself, I love myself over and over. You feel that. I would always notice within 1 month my life would be completely different. So that's a little bit on it.
Now, I don't mean to be critical, but
Please
it,
criticize.
is there any way that you could muster some enthusiasm for that topic? I love it. I love it. I love it. I love the love. I love the self love. I loved Love Yourself Like Your Life Depends on It. I listened to that book probably on repeat 2 or 3 times, and when I was first into it, and practicing all the different ways of creating a different soundtrack in the mind. And I'm with you, mantras are powerful. Looking in the mirror and speaking to ourselves is powerful. Collecting evidence for it is powerful. And as much as anything, just having attention on it, right, is where
Yes.
it's at. And what has it changed in your outer environment?
I mean, everything is the short answer. I mean, I'm a kid from New York. Uh, I think the part that is most interesting to me and gets reflected often when I'm not in it is my friends. Um, I tell people about my friendships when I'm in New York,
Hmm.
and they say to me often, I've heard this a few times, is, wow, it's incredible how you have friends like that. Like that's so rare. That's amazing that your friends see you in that way, and that you guys hold space for each other, or they say listen to each other and you give each other good feedback or thoughts on your life, and you don't judge one another. And I'm like, yeah, of course. What do you mean? But I when I when I and the thing is, like, we care about the same topics and we get lit up by the same topics and ideas. And I think the biggest thing and the most practical thing that it's changed in my life in this current moment that I'm thinking about is my friendships are so deep, they're so profound, they're so exciting. They fill me with so much enthusiasm. I'm so excited to see one of my friends right after this. I'm so excited that I got the opportunity to hang out with my friends in on Monday night and Tuesday night. Like, I just feel so connected, and the activities that we do are, we just talk, and
Hmm.
talking is enough, and that's it's so special to me. It
Hmm.
really is, and
Hmm.
um, I I remember a time when the activities that were surrounding me were about how much I could drink in any given night,
Hmm.
and they were, um, yeah, just not things that I currently do, and I think it's rare, uh, and I appreciate that so much. That's how my life has changed. I live in Austin, Texas as well, and so
Hmm.
yeah, special.
I think as you said that, I remembered something that I love, the Louis Armstrong song, What a Wonderful World. And there's a line in there that goes something like this: I see friends shaking hands, saying, How do you do? Really, what they're saying is, I love you. Right?
Yeah.
And there's this great Rumi poem. No, actually, it's a Hafez poem that says, um, it's about going to the well, and then there's a line that says, all human movement is really a thirst for connection.
Mm.
And so what I hear you describing, like you're hanging out with your friends and it's exciting and you're talking, and it's just exchanging love. It's just saying I love you in different ways. Whether you're talking about the Mets or the breakup or the mother or 75 Hard or the podcast. Or let's, because time's flying along, let's talk about these 12 books in 12 months. Holy moly, are you crazy? What's going on? What's happening?
Well, I think the reason why my friends are the way they are is because I followed the thread of enthusiasm all the way through.
How do you mean?
And that thread of enthusiasm got me to Austin, Texas. That thread of enthusiasm of, oh my God, this place is different. It meant that I was going to move there. And so then I was going to move there. And now all of a sudden, the people who also moved there are different. And the way this ties together is this thread of enthusiasm that's deep within my soul led me to publish 400 something podcast episodes. And it led me to say, I know what 2026 holds in store for you. I know what fills you with energy. I know what is your dharma. I know what is your path. I know, and I feel that energy. And that energy says, you write 12 books in 12 months and you do something that you will be really proud of, that is challenging, that is exciting, that is your calling. That's what you're put on this earth to do. That's 12 books in 12 months. And so that what has made the friends in my life so special is the same thing that had me write this book. And it's the thirst for connection. And it's this calling, and it starts with the connection inside. And what lights you up inside? Are there things in your life that are calling you that you are putting the phone down to? Or are there things in your life that are calling you that you say, that looks like a hefty price to pay, but I know that the life that I want is on the other side of that. And that is what moving to Austin did for me. That is what 12 books in 12 months did for me and is doing for me. I wrote 3,000 words on Monday. I wrote 6,000 words yesterday. I wrote 3,000 words another day. And I'm like, oh, I'm being called. This is not a choice. This is God moving through me so that I can get this out, so that I can get the words out, so that energy and spirit could flow through me. I've never written 3,000 words in a day. Now all of a sudden I'm writing 3,000 words a day. Why? Because I'm inspired by a compelling vision of the future that comes from my heart. I'm so excited to listen to this podcast back because I don't even know what I'm saying right now.
Perfect. I love it. Well, and you use the word inspired. And I love that word on multiple levels because, well, we think of it like typically, I'm excited about this thing, right? It's a project. I'm writing a book or a new relationship, or I've moved to a new place and so I'm inspired. But then if we go to another layer of the word, and I think of Spanish, that was the first other language I learned besides English. Inspira, right, means to breathe in, right? That's inspiration, is breathe in. And it's super obvious, though it didn't click for me until I first studied breath work, in spirit, right? It's the bringing in of spirit. It's the animating force. You said, about God, and God is flowing through you, and God is creating this book through you, and you're saying yes to it, right? We talked about this when we met. I like our friend John, said, okay, I'm going to play with a word for this year. And holy moly, did I struggle to come down, to hone it down to one single word, right? And that's one of my challenges. I jokingly say, well, I'm more of a novel writer than a short story writer. And, one of my coaches said, what's the one-line version of that? Can make it concise. So the word I finally chose is, and I had mixed feelings about this. I love it now, but the word is unimpeded. Unimpeded. And normally, like, I'm kind of like a very specific and intentional about words. I'm not going for the negative. The subconscious doesn't hear the negative. The universe doesn't hear the negative. Say it in the positive form. I get it. I know all of that. You don't need to tell me. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. I never found a different way of saying it. And so where I'm at with it, and I think this is part of what you're saying, and then I want to get your response to this, is how can I get out of the way? right? What are the ways that I could unconsciously block, say no, fear, whatever it is, so that how can I just let God, the universe, flow through me? And it sounds to me like you had a natural ability with that from a young age. Like, I got this idea. Okay, let's go. Right? And you have cultivated it and accelerated it. Right? So anything you want to say about that little diatribe of mine?
Uh, it's so well said. What keeps popping up for me is that I would love to record a 2 hour, 3 hour podcast with you as the guest, or just to talk, because there's so much. The fact that we're capped at 1 hour is a travesty. That's the first thing. Um, the second thing is that, yeah, I have cultivated it,
Yeah.
and you've cultivated it too. And I think there's an ability for us to cultivate our unique essence and
Hmm.
allow more of our unique essence to flow through, so people can see the true us in the way that uh, would be us if there was no rules or regulations or a way you had to be.
Hmm.
And that's what I was doing at 13. I was writing blog posts. There was no way I had to be. And so I wrote blog posts. That was fun for me. And so what am I doing at 29? I'm creating books, which are just blog posts, right? It's like, it's the same thing. And you always come back to what it is. And the more, for me, the more that I've meditated, the more that I've gotten clear on who I am, the more I've come back to my natural essence in a more complete way.
Hmm.
And that's going to be my journey, I would imagine, over the next however many years. And I'm grateful that I get to watch this movie unfold, because I love this movie and it's a really fun movie to watch. And so,
Well, dude, I'm
God.
grateful that I get to watch the movie of Danny Miranda unfold too. I think of when I was formally studying writing years ago. I think it was Brenda Euland, who's amazing. Her work and her work in general, and her work about writing. She said two rules for great writing (parentheses) and a great life: always be honest, always do what you want to do. And it occurred to me that's the same thing, right? That's actually just one. If we could hone that down, and what I hear you saying is that those are rules that you're living by and creating, and inspiring other people to live by, right? Which is such a beautiful thing. Your presence, your beingness of that is uplifting. So yes, it is a travesty, and we are near the end of time. Is there anything I haven't asked you about that you want to bring forward here, Danny?
Yes, is the honest answer. But no, in that there's not a possibility for us to have the fleshed out conversations with our minds that I would like to have in this forum. Um, but I just want to say I'm uh, so grateful for you, your energy. I think, I noticed this uh, when we met, is that you have a unique ability to get the best out of people. And I feel my energy is so enlivened by virtue of being in your presence. And that's such a gift. So I want to thank you for all the things you've done to cultivate your own energy, because I feel your unconditional love. And that is what has brought the best version, my own feeling of my best version, out in this 1 hour. So thank you so much for being you. And I'm so excited to talk to you again, hopefully soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you. I receive that and I appreciate all that. And it's a great gift that I can give to the world. If there's anything I can do through who I am that amplifies your amazingness into the world, then I'm doing good for the whole team. So happy to do that. Now, I know, well, I don't know because this was a few days ago that I heard this from you. Things change. But as I last heard, you're not super involved in social media. However, you are open to receiving communications from people. And so people, of course, are going to see this, hear this, and be like, who's that dude? I want to get in touch with him. are you open to that? And if so, what's the best way?
The best way is through email, and that is danny@dannymiranda.com. And I'm so excited to hear from anyone and everyone that got to this point of the episode. I have so much appreciation for you, for listening, for watching, whatever it is. And I love communicating through email because I feel a depth of communication that I sometimes find on social media platforms, but the depth I find on email.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm finding myself more and more like Derek Sivers, which for me is a positive thing.
Absolutely. I was just thinking of that when you said that, like the way he moved into communicating by email with anybody in the world. That was how I got to be friends with him. So yeah, that's beautiful. I love it. And I'm with you. So danny@dannymiranda.com. Hallelujah. Thank you again. We got more to come. And for y'all in the audience, thank you for being here. Thank you for not just being interested in having more freedom, love, and vibrancy in your life. You're doing something about it. And my invitation, encouragement, I implore you, do something more about it. You got 482 gold gems from Danny Miranda today. Take just one, and say, yeah, you know, I'm gonna learn something more about self-love. What was that book? You know, Naval Ravikant. I'm gonna, love myself like my life depends on it. I'm gonna create a self-love, whatever it is for you. What speaks to you? The rubber meets the road, where you take action on what you've learned. Thank you so much for being here, y'all. I love you, and I'll see you soon. Aloha. Mahalo for tuning in to the Art of Vibrant Living show, y'all. I'm Daniel Aaron, and may you live with great vibrancy.